Joining us right now, a really beautiful woman. I had the occasion of meeting her this summer, actually at my birthday party in July.
That's right.
Marjorie Wallace is a former Miss Indiana, Miss USA, Miss World 1973-74. You may remember this is the Miss World who was the controversial one because after completing half of her reign, she had a boyfriend, objected to having chaperones on the dates, and reneged on her crown or whatever. She has just decided to do a series of Wella Balsam commercials, and I think it's terrific. Welcome.
Thank you.
Russell, have you gotten everything you need?
Pretty much. I mean, you can never have enough.
Okay, well, why don't you take a seat? He ran out of film.
In front of the camera?
No, you can go, yeah, go right around like that. It's good that you asked about walking in front of the camera, though. Let's see. How do you feel about these people?
Well, I have had some experience with them, I must say.
Like what?
All good ones.
Be nice. Be nice.
No, I'll be nice, believe me.
Be honest.
Because I may have some more experiences with you later. I have, you know, been rushed at by paparazzi, and it's a very, it's an insecure feeling. I mean, they're rushing at you from all sides, but you have a good point. If people are in this life and they're going to functions and they're doing things like that, they really expect and anticipate to have their pictures taken.
Now, if nobody took your picture.
You'd say, what am I doing here? Why is this happening?
That happened to me a couple times. It happened to me with Adam. Adam was taking pictures of everybody else, and I walked right by him once.
Well, he'll be taking your picture from now on.
Didn't even take a shot at me. I thought, oh, geez. What did I do wrong, you know?
Now he'll
I'm just kidding. But there is that aspect of it.
Sure.
You know? There really is.
It is tough to deal with, though, because you do lose some of your privacy. And when you're going out to a function, you can expect and anticipate it. But a lot of times they'll be there when you don't expect them to be there. For instance, when Farrah was coming out of a restaurant this weekend, or when Jackie O goes out, I'm sure that there's photographers that watch her door all the time. And so,
there's one of them right over there.
And it puts you in a position where if you want to go to the dry cleaners or to the grocery store, you either go through the whole thing of makeup and dressing in case they're out there and they're going to get you, or else you go without makeup and then you have a picture of you not looking your best smeared all over the papers of the United States and anywhere else.
What they do constitutes, on one level, something is basically called publicity. I was wondering, in your career, since you've been in the public limelight, what is some of the publicity you've gotten that made you angry? Stuff that you didn't like?
Oh, how much time have you got?
Well, you're the one who's got the plane to catch today.
Yeah, you're
so
right.
Start.
You're right. Well, the thing that comes up most often that makes me the angriest is I am linked with a gentleman who plays soccer. And I have met him twice. I met him once when I was working. His name is George Best.
George Best.
And I met him twice. I met him once when I was on a tour of the United Kingdom, and I had dinner with him onse.
You didn't tour the United Kingdom with him?
No. Ah. And as we were coming out of a restaurant in London, these guys aren't responsible. These were photographers in London. There were photographers outside, and they got a picture of us. The next day on the front page of the papers was, you know, a new romance between Marjorie Wallace and George Best. Now, I've never seen him since then. And this, I mean, that was the extent.
So that annoys you, but why does that annoy you? Now, that same thing happened to me once with Polly Bergen. Polly Bergen and I were out. She actually called me to go someplace with her because she wanted me to see a particular screening of a television show that she thought would be good for me to know about, right? And so the two of us went together, and then 2 days later, it's in Liz Smith. The Polly Bergen and I are linked romantically,
this is the
right?
new duo, yes.
Yeah, the new duo. And she has a boyfriend who now doesn't talk to me as a result of the fact that I was, you know, this happened to me.
Yeah.
How about you dated Jimmy Connors for a while, did you not?
Yeah.
Was he a guy who was particularly aggravated by photographers and so forth like these guys here?
Well, photographers do tend to irritate Jimmy somewhat, but then again, a lot of things, you know, irritate Jimmy that might not irritate the rest of us. But when he's ready, when he knows they're going to be there, and he anticipates
Gets
it,
that little Prince Valiant haircut combed down properly?
No, well, he doesn't prepare for them, but it only really upsets him if something went wrong on the tennis court. Then anything will upset him, you know, and particularly photographers or reporters.
At the time that you were dating Jimmy Connors, that was after he had broken off with Chris Everett. Did you ever run into Chris Everett?
Chris and I met twice. We met at Wimbledon and we met at Forest Hills.
So in other words, a great shot for any one of these three people would have been you talking to Chris Everett,
Yeah,
right?
Perhaps, yes.
Did anybody get the shot?
No, I don't think so.
What was that like? Is it embarrassing when you meet somebody like you're the new girlfriend, she's the old girlfriend? Was it tough to talk?
Well, now, I don't want to lead you to believe that we sat down and had a long conversation, because we didn't. We were just introduced and hello, and that it was sort of in passing. But the thing you've got to remember is Chris and Jimmy went together and were engaged and broke the engagement, and it was all going through the mill long and finished before
Had nothing
I
to
got
do with
there.
you. No, I understand.
And just like I have dated other people in the past, if he met them, it shouldn't bother him because it's the past, you know. And I had nothing to do with their problems. Or
Anything you're wondering about here? You want to get her
Yeah.
itinerary for the next couple of months?
No, I want to know, was George
Best?
best?
What was George best? What? Was George best?
The best.
Well, I
See,
would,
now that's why you're a
It occurred
photographer.
to me a while ago, and I'm not a comedian, right? And,
That's okay.
I just couldn't let it go, you know.
No, that's okay. Have you, since you've been in New York, right, and you've signed this deal with Wella and so forth, you're going to be making commercials, right?
yeah, I'm going to do commercials and print for Wella and for Ultra Bright. I've got two,
How bright are your teeth? Yeah.
almost as bright as yours.
No, they're
Touche.
no, that's okay. I went to the dentist one time when I was 17 or 18 years old, and I had a little cavity in the back of one of my front teeth, and they filled that with a white substance.
Yeah.
And he said that my teeth were one step lower than the whitest white teeth could be.
Well, how about that?
Yeah. But you're the one who's got the commercial.
Well, I'll
No,
have to
your
go to
teeth.
your dentist
No,
and
your
see
teeth.
how...
Your teeth. They're really very white. So, do you, as you anticipate a continuation in public life, how are you going to deal with more links with men that you're not involved with, more flashbulbs going off in your face? What's your general attitude toward it?
Well, as far as the flash bulbs are concerned, you know, I'm aware that that's part of the life and that it's coming, and that if I'm going to go out in public, that there's going to be the possibility that photographers will be there. And it doesn't bother me. I will be prepared for it when it happens, and hopefully they won't catch me, you know, coming out of my house and with my...
Is that your biggest fear, that they'll take a bad shot of you?
Well,
Not your biggest fear, but is that one of your main things that you would worry about?
well, I'll say this. If you're going to have a picture taken of you, and it's going to be in newspapers and or magazines or something, you would prefer, and I'm sure it's not just me, but...
You prefer photo approval?
Yes. Well, I would prefer it be a nice picture as opposed to a not so nice or
That's part of the
a
game.
non-flattering picture, but I don't think they go for
Now,
flattering
what do you mean
No,
part of
flattering pictures are very good. I like to make people look as beautiful as they want to be. That's part of it, too, to take beautiful pictures, but
Yeah.
also pictures that are not so flattering. It's not just because I want to take them, but
isn't it
if I
true-
took them and they printed them, somebody else must want to see them, too. The public must
Yeah.
want to see that.
Well-
People want to see the real pictures of people, behind the scenes,
Right.
backstage.
So when you take pictures, you have just as good a chance of selling a bad picture of someone as you do of selling a flattering picture of someone, would you say?
Possibly.
Because people sort
Depends
of
on
want
the
to
editor.
see people in the business looking bad.
Foolish sometimes.
Russell, didn't you tell me, this is not too pleasant, but we'll get into it. Didn't you tell me you have a collection of celebrities picking their noses?
Picking their noses right.
You
or-
do actually have, that's what we're talking
Sure.
about. You have a private,
Actually,
your own private
withdrawals
collection.
and, you know, all
Things like
sorts of-
that.
So they're very
It'll
intimidating
be a book
because the
someday.
minute you see a photographer, you want to make sure that, I mean, you don't want to look in the wrong direction, you don't want to do anything wrong, because for
That's the
sure
game.
they will get the picture of you doing it.
Yeah.
And you have to live with that.
Go ahead, Adam.
Your attitude is much more acceptable than other people. The big problem is that if the celebrity or person in front of the camera would just hold on for a moment and let everybody get the picture, it would be over and done with.
That's what I've found.
So many of them don't, and that just incites almost a riot within the photographer's mind to go after them even more and chase them
That's
down.
right. I found if you'll just give them 15 seconds and let them snap a few, smile, you'll get the picture the way you want it, and then they'll leave, and
Yeah.
everybody will be happy.
That
If you
makes sense
fight
to
them,
me.
they'll
they
they'll
don't
fight
do
you
that.
back.
No.
They will fight you back.
I know.
But
Well,
that's their job.
That,
so.
that recently actually happened to me. I was out with Francine, you know,
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
Francine. And she has a thing, she doesn't like this too much. But I say, look, if they're going to take your picture, you might as well give them a decent
Right.
shot.
Sure.
Right? So we were going into the New York Film Festival. This picture was in the New York Post on a Saturday. I don't remember who took it. And I saw the guy there, and I stopped, just like you said. Well, you know, I know the person. Why should I snub them? But Francine kind of went like this, and she ended up looking like she should have been on a broom.
Oh,
You
no.
know, in this particular shot. And I looked great, and she didn't like it. Do you
I
have
bet
to go
not.
to the airport, or can you stay, depending?
I've
got a
gotta-
plane.
Yeah, and it's going to leave without me if I don't.
You
hurry
gotta
it
go.
up. But thank you.
Come back.
I will.
Marjorie
I
Wallace,
will.
good luck with your commercials and everything, and I
Thank
appreciate
you.
your honesty. We'll be joined by Sandra Theodore, who is one of the centerfold women in Playboy magazine and Hugh Hefner's current girlfriend, right after this. And photographers, stick around.